The knife hovered above the roast chicken, steam curling into the warm light of the dining room. My daughter laughed at something on her phone, her voice bright, familiar, comforting. Across the table, her husband sat with that smile I had learned to distrust, a smile stretched too thin, polished like it had been practiced in the mirror. I wasn't supposed to notice things like that anymore. Old men, in his eyes, were meant to fade into the background, nod along, and pass the salt. But I saw everything. 30 years of work as an insurance investigator had trained me to watch the small details, the way pupils dilated when a lie slipped out, the flick of a wrist when someone grew restless, the unnatural stillness that signaled calculation. Beautiful house. David, Charlie said, swirling the wine I'd poured for him. Bet you've got this place locked up tighter than a bank vault. It sounded casual, but his eyes didn't match his tone. They darted toward the staircase, then back to me. Lauren didn't notice. She never did. She adored him, or maybe she adored the version of him he let her see. To her, he was the devoted husband who'd fallen on hard times. To me, he was a man who measured my home the way a thief measures a storefront window. Dad's always been cautious, she said, nudging him playfully. He checks the locks 3 times before bed. Right, Dad? I smiled for her sake, but my chest tightened. Because she was right. I was careful enough to notice when my bedroom door, always closed, stood open a few inches after dinner last night. Careful enough to know the aspirin Charlie claimed to be searching for was in the bathroom cabinet, not in the dresser drawer he'd rifled through. The wine glass trembled slightly in his hand when he caught me watching him. He raised it in a mock toast. To family, he said smoothly. To family, Lauren echoed, her smile glowing. I lifted my own glass but didn't drink. The warmth of the house, the flicker of the candles, my daughter's laughter, all of it was a veneer. Underneath, the air hummed with a tension she couldn't feel, a tension he didn't think I could sense. The truth was simpler than anyone at that table wanted to admit. Charlie wasn't here to build a home. He was here to rob one, and he thought the old man across from him was too blind, too slow, too trusting to stop him. But as I set my fork down and folded my hands, I felt something steady harden in my chest. He had chosen the wrong house, the wrong daughter, the wrong father. He thought I was prey. He was about to learn I still had teeth. The house always sounded different when other people were in it. For 15 years, it had been mine alone. Just the steady tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway, and the groan of floorboards that knew my footsteps by heart. But now, with Lauren and Charlie staying here, the silence was broken by unfamiliar rhythms, a door shutting too softly, footsteps at odd hours, the low hum of private phone calls that ended as soon as I walked into the room. At first, I told myself it was adjustment. New routines, the chaos of shared space, but that excuse crumbled quickly. I'd wake in the night and hear the faint squeak of the stairwell. Not Lauren. Her steps had always been light, hurried, the way she used to race up and down when she was a teenager. No, these were deliberate, weighted, paused between movements. Someone moving like they didn't want to be heard. And then there was his voice. The first time, it floated up through the old heating vents while I lay in bed pretending to be asleep. Low, urgent whispers. Yeah, I saw them. Yeah, it's here. Don't worry, he has no clue. The walls of this house had always protected me. Now, they carried betrayals from one floor to another. In the morning, Charlie was all charm. He brewed coffee, complimented the omelette, and wrapped an arm around Lauren's waist with an ease that made her eyes sparkle. She couldn't see the faint shadow of desperation behind his gestures. But I could. I'd seen that look before. Men who smiled while drowning. Gamblers who laughed while the sharks closed in. Dad, Lauren said one morning, her hand resting gently on mine. Isn't it nice, all of us here together, like old times? Her touch was warm, her trust complete, and that was the knife in my ribs. She believed in him the way she once believed the monsters under her bed weren't real, because I told her so. She was 32 now, but her faith hadn't changed. She thought she was safe here, with me, with him, and Charlie counted on that. The question started small, harmless, almost. Do you keep spare cash around, David? Some folks say it's smart, in case the power grid fails. Then bolder. Where do you keep the deed to the house? Lauren should probably know in case anything ever happens. Always with that little pause. That tiny hesitation where he let the word, happens, sit in the air like smoke. I answered lightly, deflecting, but I filed every word away. Every slip, every twitch, every long glance toward the stairs. Charlie thought he was playing chess with an old man who forgot where the pieces went. But I had already mapped the board. And as I stood at the sink rinsing the breakfast plates, I caught his reflection in the kitchen window. He was watching me, too long, too intently. Not a son-in-law, not a guest, a predator calculating the right moment to strike. It happened on a Tuesday. Lauren had left early for her book club, humming as she grabbed her coat, her kiss on my cheek as light as when she was a teenager running out to meet friends. "Don't wait up, Dad. Charlie and I will be fine." Charlie. He lingered in the kitchen, pretending to scroll on his phone. I could feel his anticipation the way one feels a storm pressing on the air before thunder. His eyes flicked toward the stairs. Once, twice. He thought he was subtle. "I might turn in early," I said, rinsing my coffee mug. "Didn't sleep well last night." "Good idea," he replied, too quickly. "Rest is important at your age." The fake warmth in his voice was sugar poured over poison. I nodded, playing my role, and went upstairs. But I didn't rest. I waited. 2 hours later, the sound came. The deliberate tread of a man who had mapped out each creaking board. My bedroom door shifted. A shadow spilled across the carpet. I kept my breathing even, steady, like I had swallowed one of those sleeping pills I'd mentioned. At breakfast, Charlie slipped inside. His silhouette hovered, studying me, before moving toward the dresser. My dresser. The second drawer slid open, wood against wood. The sound of a private world being violated. His hand moved with certainty, bypassing shirts and papers, reaching for the lip of the drawer, where a key once waited. But the key was gone. I'd moved it days ago. All that remained was a strip of old tape. He froze, cursing under his breath. His hands rifled through folders, insurance papers, bank statements. He was reckless now, greedy enough to make mistakes. And then, through the silence, I heard something else. The faint buzz of his phone in his pocket, followed by a whisper. "Yeah, I'm in. He's out cold tomorrow night. When she's gone again, we'll take everything." My blood ran cold, then hot. He wasn't alone. There was another man. Another set of hands waiting to invade my home. I slid my hand beneath my pillow, gripping the phone I'd hidden there earlier. I tapped the record button, every nerve in my body screaming to leap up. To drag him out by the collar, to protect my daughter from the truth. But patience had always been my sharpest blade. Charlie's voice grew harder, stripped of its charm. "Hayes loaded, bank accounts, jewelry, bonds. All of it's here. Don't worry about Lauren, she trusts me. She'll believe anything I tell her." The words landed heavier than any blow. My daughter, my child, was just another pawn in his game. And in that moment, something in me hardened. This wasn't about protecting money, or even myself. It was about protecting her. Opening her eyes before she was dragged into a darkness she couldn't escape. Charlie shoved the drawer closed, glittering dust of tape, clinging to his fingers. He muttered one last word to his accomplice. "Tomorrow." When he left the room, silent as a thief, I let out the breath I'd been holding. The phone in my hand now carried his voice, his betrayal, his plan. The twist wasn't that Charlie wanted to rob me. I had suspected that all along. The twist was that he was willing to destroy my daughter's trust to do it. And I would not let him. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the kitchen window. Bright and ordinary, as though the night before hadn't happened. But nothing felt ordinary anymore. Every sound carried new weight. The scrape of a chair against the floor, the clink of silverware. Even the sound of Lauren's laughter as she read something on her phone. I watched her across the table. The way she leaned against Charlie's shoulder, still blind to the shadows behind his smile. My throat tightened. She deserved so much better than this. Charlie noticed me watching. "Everything all right, David? You look tired." His tone dripped with false concern, but the muscle twitching near his jaw betrayed him. He needed me tired. He needed me weak. "I was up late reading," I said smoothly. "The old brain doesn't quiet down the way it used to." He grinned at that. Mistaking patience for fragility. "Well, you should rest. At your age, recovery takes longer." Lauren shot him a look. "Charlie, don't be rude. I'm just worried," he said quickly, his hand covering hers. "We've got to take care of family." The word twisted in my gut. Family, that was the mask he wore, the shield he hid behind. Later, when Lauren went out to run errands, I slipped into the garage. My old toolbox sat in the corner. untouched for years, and inside it, I found what I needed: screws, wire tape, a few things left over from the days when fixing was second nature. I laid them out on the workbench like an arsenal. Not weapons, but tools. Tools to turn his arrogance into evidence. I tested my phone's recorder again, replaying the scratchy audio of Charlie whispering to his accomplice. His voice hissed through the speaker. "Don't worry about Lauren. She'll believe anything I tell her." The rage it ignited was volcanic, but I forced it down. Rage wouldn't save her. Careful steps would. That evening, Charlie tried to pour me a drink. "One small glass won't hurt. Just a toast." I declined. He pressed. He even poured one for me, pushing it across the table with a smile too wide, his hand lingering too long near the rim. Lauren teased me gently. "Come on, Dad, just a sip." I looked at her, my daughter, my little girl, and for a moment, I almost broke, almost exposed everything right then. But the time wasn't right. If I accused him without proof, he'd twist it, make me seem paranoid, senile. She would defend him, because that's what love does before it cracks. So I played the role of wary father. "Doctor's orders," I said, pushing the glass away. "Blood pressure meds. Can't mix." Charlie's eyes darkened for a split second before his smile returned. That night, I sat in my bedroom, every nerve taut, every sound amplified. The camera I had hidden earlier blinked quietly, angled toward the dresser. Inside that same dresser, a trap waited. A small device ready to mark him for what he was. I could hear him downstairs, pacing, waiting. The house felt like a stage, every room a set piece, every shadow a curtain. The performance was coming, and when it did, I would no longer be the tired old man in the corner. I would be the one pulling the strings. At 2:41 a.m., a sound cut through the stillness. The groan of a step on the staircase. My heart pounded, but I kept my breathing slow, even. The phone in my hand streamed the live camera feed. In grainy night vision, the doorway filled with Charlie's silhouette. He stood there for a long time, watching me, testing whether the sleeping pill story had worked. I didn't move. Satisfied, he stepped inside. His clothes were dark, his movements practiced. Like a man who'd rehearsed this moment in his head 100 times. He moved to the dresser. My dresser. He knelt, sliding open the second drawer. The one he thought held the key to my safe, the key to my life. His hand reached in. Click, the trap sprang. A thunderous pop shattered the quiet, followed by a glittering eruption. Gold and silver dust exploding into the air, showering him head to toe. The confetti cannon I'd built turned my dark bedroom into a storm of light. Charlie staggered backward, choking on curses, his face, his hair, his clothes glowing with shimmer. He looked less like a burglar and more like a walking firework. I sat up, lamp snapping on. "Charlie." My voice dripped with feigned confusion. "What on earth are you doing in my bedroom?" He froze, glitter falling from his jawline like poisonous snow. I heard a noise," he stammered. "Thought someone was breaking in." At 3 a.m. I tilted my head. And the break-in was hiding inside my dresser drawer. Footsteps thundered down the hallway. Lauren appeared in the doorway, robe belted, eyes wide. She stopped dead. Her husband, her partner, stood in my bedroom, drenched in glitter, the drawer gaping open behind him. "What is happening?" Her voice cracked between panic and disbelief. Charlie's hands twitched, scattering more glitter. I thought your dad had medicine. He was restless. I just wanted to help him sleep." Lauren's eyes narrowed. "In his dresser." "Yes," he snapped, desperation sharpening his tone. "Where else would he?" "In the bathroom cabinet," I said softly. "Where it's always been." Her gaze shifted, slow and damning, from me to him. Something broke in her face then, not anger, not yet. Worse, realization. Charlie stepped toward her, frantic. "Lauren, you don't understand. Don't." She cut him off. "Don't you dare." The moment was fragile, trembling like glass about to shatter. And then I reached for the phone on my nightstand. "There's something you need to hear," I said, unlocking the screen. Charlie's eyes went wide. "David, don't." But I pressed play. His voice filled the room. "Yeah, I'm in. He's out cold. The old man's loaded. Don't worry about Lauren. She'll believe anything I tell her." Lauren's hand flew to her mouth. Tears welled in her eyes as the words went on. His debts, his accomplice, his plan to vanish with her once the money was gone. Her body stiffened as if struck. She stared at him, but her eyes no longer saw her husband. They saw a stranger. "Charlie," she whispered, voice breaking. You were going to rob my father. And use me to cover it up. His mouth opened, closed. Glitter clung to his lips like evidence he could never wash away. In the silence that followed, the truth hung heavier than the night itself. The mask was gone. The predator was exposed, and justice sparkled all around him. The slam of the front door echoed through the house, long after Charlie was gone. His glitter trail sparkled faintly in the carpet, a grotesque parody of holiday cheer. For the first time in weeks, the silence felt safe again. Lauren stood frozen in my doorway, her arms wrapped around herself. Her face was pale, streaked with tears, but her jaw had hardened into something new. Something I hadn't seen in her since she was a child who used to stand up to bullies twice her size. She turned to me slowly. "Dad," she whispered, "I'm so sorry. I brought him here. I let him." Her voice broke. I shook my head gently. "Sweetheart, you didn't let him. He deceived you. That's what men like him do. They prey on trust." Her shoulders collapsed. She sank onto the edge of the bed beside me, staring at the glitter scattered across the sheets. I believed him when he said things were going to get better. I believed every lie. What does that make me? I placed a hand over hers, my fingers rough, hers trembling. It makes you human. It makes you someone who loves. That's never a weakness, Lauren. That's your strength. It's why I knew I had to protect you, even from him. She leaned into me then, her head on my shoulder. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The house seemed to breathe again, as though its walls had been waiting for this moment of truth. By dawn, she had packed the remnants of Charlie's presents into 2 black bags and left them by the door. She didn't cry as she did it. Her movements were steady, deliberate, like someone shedding a skin that never belonged to them. Weeks passed, divorce papers filed, calls unanswered, debt collectors redirected to a man who no longer had a home here. My daughter stayed with me, slowly weaving her life back together. Job applications, new routines, cautious smiles that grew into laughter again. One morning, she came down the stairs in a pressed blouse and slacks, ready for her first day at the library. She kissed my cheek, poured her coffee, and for the first time in months, her eyes were clear. "Do you regret it?" she asked suddenly, pausing by the door. "Regret what?" "The glitter trap. Exposing him the way you did." I let the question hang in the air, watching sunlight spill across the kitchen table, catching on the faint flecks of sparkle still lodged in the floorboards. No matter how many times I vacuumed, they refused to vanish. "Regret," I said at last. "No. Some truths need light, and some betrayals deserve to shine." She smiled faintly, a smile carrying both pain and relief, and then she left for work. When the door closed behind her, I sat alone with my coffee. The house was quiet again, the kind of quiet I'd once mistaken for loneliness. But now, it sounded like peace. And in the morning light, the glitter on the floor winked back at me. Silent proof that even darkness, once caught, can be made to sparkle.